Jeffery Christopher was elected sheriff of Sussex County, Delaware in 2010. He has been fighting attempts by the Delaware state legislature to unconstitutionally emasculate the powers of the county sheriff. Sheriff Christopher takes his constitutional oath of office very seriously, which is why he currently finds himself at odds with the state legislature. We visited with him a few weeks ago. He is here to give us an update. Sheriff Jeffery Christopher, welcome back to the Global Freedom Report. How are you, Jeff?
Fine. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
My pleasure.
Just for those who are not quite familiar with it, I want to give them a little overview. The Delaware State Legislature recently passed a law that effectively dismantles the powers of the county sheriff, which powers are derived from the state constitution. You have strongly and legally mounted a resistance campaign against this usurpation of authority and disregard for the Constitution. Now, what is the current status of those efforts? And let's start with the lawsuit. How is that proceeding?
We filed a lawsuit, and we had the first hearing on June the 20th. And basically we looked at, July the 20th, and we looked at where we were going to go from that point in the Superior Court of Delaware, and the judge in that case wanted us to include several steps in the actual suit itself. So we went back and basically redid the filing to include the Attorney General. We were going to do this on a separate basis, but they wanted it all-inclusive. So we went back and included the Attorney General along with the County Council, since the County Council was the one who proposed the plan, in my opinion, to basically abolish the office of sheriff. I had evidence of this when I first became elected, and the information came to me that there was attempts to get legislators to create a bill that basically emaciates the sheriff and his powers. And simply put, they want to control the office of sheriff both at the local level and at the state level. And I probably wouldn't have to explain long to make your listeners understand that there's just certain entities of government that don't want the sheriff in the way of what they want to do to control the people.
No, you probably would not have to explain that at all. We understand that about much of what's happening in government today. What about popular support? What kind of popular support are you receiving in support of your efforts?
Every day, we talk to people out there in the county itself every day, and what I get back is that people just don't understand. It doesn't make sense to them. And, of course, I understand myself it doesn't make sense because it's not the way it's supposed to be. The Founding Fathers made it very clear what the intent was, the way the United States is set up, that it gives us the power in the Constitution which supersedes state laws. Otherwise, we'd be creating state laws left and right that would remove the authority of the people to control the government. Of course, we as people, we go every day knowing in the back of our minds that we can recall government or have the power to recall government, but the longer we go into the future, the further we go into the future, we're going to have less and less of that ability if we allow the government itself to do what they're doing to us. And it's basically just painting us into a corner where we have no way to turn with regard to the Constitution and the power that it gives to the people. We have to on state levels, county levels, stand up and clean up our own backyard before we can reach over to Washington and clean that up. We have to send a very clear message that in each county, the people that are living in these counties are not going to tolerate this kind of tyranny and this kind of action against the people from local governments. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't really see the problem because it doesn't affect them personally, or at least not right away. And when these types of actions are put forth from, in my case, from the county council and the state legislators and the state level, that the consequences are not apparent until years later. We can see an issue like Sheriff Mack's issue in Arizona, when the federal government came along and said we're going to sorry about that, that we are going to basically do something that's going to affect the power and control that Sheriff Mack has in his own county. And in effect, he sued, and it was pushed back, and the government was recognized as being overreaching, and you can't supersede the power of the sheriff because it is the power of the people. And that needs to be reconstituted. It needs to be underpinned and surrounded, checked, and basically secured to the fact that the people are the last call in this whole thing. We have to make sure that our government stays in line when they're governing for us. They're doing it for our safety, for our protection. But as you can see, what's happening in Arizona and all around the country, they're simply ignoring us and not doing what we need them to do to ensure that safety.
I asked before about the status of the lawsuit, but what is the next step with that lawsuit?
Well, what we have coming up on August the 29th is the second day of court in the Superior Court here in Sussex County. We have amended the complaint, and that amendment, again, to reiterate, was to include the Attorney General in the lawsuit, or the state of Delaware. As you know, they gave the opinion, the Attorney General, Beau Biden, under one of his solicitors, gave the opinion that the sheriff has no arrest authority. In fact, in his note, he alluded to the fact that without going into the historical aspects of the sheriff, which you have to in order to understand the constitutionality of it, he eluded those facts and the historical aspect in order to support the power of the sheriff, and said basically what the state law says, that he doesn't have it. Well, the state law is superseded, as we know, by the Constitution, and we look for those that historical aspect of importance when we built the case and understanding of the power of the office of sheriff in its historical sense, as well as its power that it has today. And so we included that in the amendment, and the judge wanted to also include the recently passed bill, House Bill 325. The legislature passed, and then on the 19th of July, the governor signed that particular bill into law. And of course, that in effect states that the sheriff has no authority, has no arrest authority whatsoever. And it's ironic because this is the things that we're challenging, despite the fact that they were told, the legislature went ahead and passed it. They were told it was the wrong thing to do. It was unconstitutional. And they were warned that I would probably seek some sort of an injunction, or at least file a lawsuit, which is what I did. So August 19th, we're going to have our second review by a Superior Court judge.
August 19th, you said 29th before.
I'm sorry, August the 29th. I just misread the note. August the 29th, we'll have the second court date.
Now, I'm sorry, did I hear you correctly? Did you say the Attorney General is Beau Biden?
That is correct. It's the son of Joe Biden, Vice President.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay. Talking about the good old boys now. All right. Well, I'll just leave that sitting for the time.
That might help to explain something.
Yeah, it really might. You also kind of answered one of the questions I haven't asked yet, which is going to be, has the Delaware governor changed his position at all, or maybe wavered a bit since this all started? Obviously not. So we have the lawsuit in process. Have you actually pursued an injunction to stop implementation of the law while the lawsuit is going on?
Not at this point. The attorneys are looking at that as a consideration. We met the last time, and it was on the table. However, we've not gone forth with that particular filing of the injunction.
Ordinarily, the sheriff's office would have access to the county council, I guess, as part of his budget. Is that not correct? And in this situation, isn't there some kind of a conflict?
But what's happening now, the county council basically is usurping my authority and my power by cutting my budget. In fact, they cut 2 positions out for evidently no reason. And I noticed on my budget this year, they cut my uniforms out completely. It's down to 0 in that category. And I believe another category is vehicles and major purchases. So I can see it's very evident to me that the county council is doing everything they can to keep me from going forth and fulfilling the commission of the sheriff, which is what I got elected for. The people elected me because they wanted to see more.
What lawyers are working with you? In other words, ordinarily, if the sheriff has to pursue action of the sort, he would pursue it through his office using the county council. Since the county council has pretty much declared himself in opposition to the sheriff, then who are you able to use to support the lawsuit?
I've had to do it myself. They made the announcement shortly after this was all coming down that they were in no way going to foot the bill, even though it's on the behalf of the people that I'm doing this, because I feel that the people have a right to have a full function and fully commissioned sheriff to protect them and their liberties. We haven't enjoyed that because we haven't had a couple of sheriffs in the last 2 or 3 elections that didn't understand it or didn't want to pursue the service to the people. And in these days and times, I don't have to tell you again that the challenge is coming from the federal government, some of the state governments, that it's an overreaching government that we have, and they're sort of in our business everywhere you turn. There's some aspect where they're trying to control our lives, and it's no different here. We're having challenges with regard to property rights and civil liberties, different things that people are finding themselves in the midst of, and they don't know where to turn. And one of the biggest challenges I have is educating the people about the use of the sheriff's office and what they can do to use the office of sheriff to their benefit. I've gone through this with the CSPOA and Sheriff Mack, and I've learned quite a bit with regard to the sheriffs across the country and some of the challenges that they've had from the federal government, and those intrusive challenges that they've had there. All aspects, all kinds of 3-letter acronyms from the government have come in and said, this is what we're going to do, and in effect to remove the rights of the people and just step on the people and their and their ability to pursue liberty. But it's ridiculous, and it doesn't even make any sense if you look at it here. They had to amend so many state titles to say that I didn't have the arrest authority. It was kind of funny because one of the gentlemen stood up in the General Assembly and said, well, if he doesn't have arrest powers, why are we making a bill or creating a bill to state that he doesn't have arrest powers? It would all automatically be
there you go. There you go. Well, assuming that you are victorious in the legal action, will you be able to, I would assume you'll be able to get attorney's fees back from the state, which you should be able to do because it shouldn't come out of your pocket to have to stand up for this. But more than that, are you going to go after the county council? I would think that the county council has abandoned his public trust by going against the constitutional dictates that empower the sheriff. Am I wrong? Am I reading this wrong?
No, you pretty much hit the nail on the head, but I don't believe that I will have to do it myself. I've got a number of citizens that have contacted me, and they're interested in starting a posse. And there used to be a relatively strong posse in the Sussex County region, and they want to reestablish that, and I believe their interest is to go after the county council themselves in a class action suit.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Are local and regional media covering this at all, and if so, are they positioning themselves in your favor or against you?
Oh, absolutely against me. Every time I turn around, there's the liberal media is throwing every sawbone and every rock they can at me to try to discredit me. But the one thing I can tell you is they can't tell the truth to discredit me. It's impossible. I'm one of those types of people that they don't have anything in the way of dirt to put on me, so they have to make it up. The county council made up a 64-page report about various things my deputies were involved in, and I refute every single thing.
Jeff, I got to stop you. We're out of time. We're up against a hard clock. Let me give out the website for people to support you. It's the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, www.cspoa.org. Please go there. There's all kinds of information about Sheriff Jeffery Christopher and how to support the work that he is doing. Jeff, we will be following this with you, and we'll do what we can to help support what you're doing. It's really important. Thank you so much for your stand. Sheriff Jeff Christopher,